WRTV investigates bundled up at ISP's shooting range in Pendleton. Sergeant Scott Keegan is showing us their new service weapon, the Sig Sauer P320.
And there's some still images of him firing this handgun, and man, that form is pretty god-awful. If he's the one testing these handguns and he's the expert, there's no way in hell I'm listening to that guy.
And you said it's a little bit heavier?
This is about a pound heavier than our original carry weapon.
Sig Sauer stopped making ISP's current gun, a model they used for a dozen years.
We began an explorative process to find a viable replacement.
Captain Ron Galavis says ISP researched 7 different options from 3 different manufacturers and conducted all kinds of tests.
Putting probably thousands upon thousands of rounds of ammunition through these various firearms.
I really hate to beat a dead horse, but man, SIG just keeps stumbling right into it. You know, just a week ago, the Indiana State Police announced they're adopting the Sig Sauer P320 as their new duty weapon. I found that rather interesting, seeing how as every other agency in the country is running away as fast as possible. And I thought, how could this be that the Indiana State Police thinks that this is a good choice for the new service weapon? It didn't make any sense to me. This is my P320. I've owned it, since 2019 or so. I've never had a problem with it. I've shot thousands of rounds. I mean, going on, what, 7 years? I've never had a problem with it. But in the last 2 years, I mean, just because I haven't had a problem doesn't mean there's not hundreds of other cases that it's been proven that it's not a reliable design. So what's the Indiana State Police even thinking? And right after it was announced, my spidey senses started tingling. I thought something doesn't smell right here, and I'm gonna look into it. I've done a little bit of research for you guys, and I've talked to some people. I'm still waiting on the Indiana State Police to reach back out with me. I've got a few more questions I want them to answer. And I called them out on some shenanigans that I think I'm fair on. So, the Sig Sauer P320. Let's talk about it. So a little backstory for you here. The Indiana State Police had GLOCKs, and they switched to the Sig Sauer P227s, about a dozen years ago. And they've been running the SIG P227, chambered in .45, until SIG announced that they were discontinuing the P227. So, I don't blame ISP for needing to go another direction and look for a new service weapon. But one would assume that an agency would reach out to all of the top manufacturers across all platforms when it comes to duty weapons, right? I mean, the 3 I can think of right off the bat is SIG, Smith & Wesson, and GLOCK. I would say GLOCK probably holds a majority of that. But yeah, you would assume that the 3 major manufacturers would definitely be involved in the testing. Well, what if I told you that there were only 3 manufacturers in the entire testing process, and only 1 manufacturer from those that I just listed were even included? And you can guess which one that was. And you know, SIG may just send me a C&D, just like they have to everyone else. And that's fine. But this needs to be out in the public because, frankly, this is bullshit. So as far as the contract goes, Indiana State Police announced that they were acquiring 1,350 of these Sig Sauer P320s for a contract price of a little over $1.1 million. Now, I did the math, and that comes out to roughly $860 a unit. And I thought, well, that's kind of pricey for just a bare handgun. So like I said, I reached out to the Indiana State Police spokesperson, and he did inform me that they are coming equipped with the Sig Sauer Red Dot, Streamlight TLR1 weapon-mounted light, and they also purchased all new holsters. He didn't give me a manufacturer of the holster, but from other videos and photos that I've seen online, it definitely looks to be the Alien Gear Level 3 retention holster. Now, I believe they went with this holster because SIG in their mighty wisdom is going around telling everyone that the Safariland holsters are what's causing all the NDs and UDs that they're experiencing with the P320. Now that's utter bullshit, obviously. We have some local agencies here that have reports of uncommanded discharges. They have the footage of it. Now, unfortunately, I'm not able to show that to you guys. So they flew SIG reps in. They told them, your seatbelts are getting caught in your holster. Now, 6 months ago, I would probably believe that. I was the 320's greatest defender for a very long time. Those of you that know me know that. And I still like the 320. It shoots well. It's a great competition gun. The trigger feels amazing. But the way SIG has handled everything even in the last year, has really rubbed me the wrong way. And it does have me believing that maybe there is some slimy stuff going on in the background.
It's not like we opened up a Guns and Ammo magazine and thought, that's a cool looking gun. I'm going to go to the website, quantity 1300, click.
So right off the bat, one of the biggest worries I had about an agency going from a DASA platform, such as the P320, where a trooper would typically carry, one round in the chamber, hammer down, right? So in double action on a P320, the average trigger pull is around 10 to 11 pounds, give or take. On the striker-fired P320, on my personally owned P320, the trigger pull sits right around 3.5 pounds. So you're taking an agency that is typically used to shooting a duty weapon with a 10-pound trigger to switching over to a platform with a trigger that's a third of the pull weight. Wow, that seems a little sketchy. So I did more digging on how they're going to train troopers on the P320. They said there'll be roughly 4 days of training, including roughly 1,000 rounds or maybe more, as they do their transition period from the 227 to the 320. And I really questioned, is 4 days and 1,000 rounds really enough for troopers who, I would say a majority of them probably only shoot their duty weapon at mandated qualification days? I've shot with law enforcement before. They don't shoot near as much as they should. And I would be very concerned taking someone not familiar at all with a striker-fired handgun and giving them a P320.
How many times have you fired this P320?
Over 3,000 rounds.
Anything stick out to you?
No.
No issues?
No issues whatsoever.
It was discussed which manufacturers and models would be tested. And there were 3 models from SIG Sauer: the M17, the Department of Defense variant, the SIG P320 M17, and the P320, they say it's the RXP, but I believe it's more like the X10 version. So those were the 3 SIG Sauer model handguns. They also tested FN. They had 2 models of the FN 509. I believe they had a 4.5 inch and a 5 inch model. And they also tested Walther, the Walther PDP, and I'll edit this if I'm wrong, but I believe that was the 4.5 inch and 5 inch as well. I'll put a note if I'm wrong. And that was it. 7 models of handguns is all they tested in this whole testing phase. From what I found out, they never once reached out to GLOCK. They never reached out to Smith & Wesson. Never mind, there's multiple other brands that are being carried amongst agencies across the United States that are arguably much better choice than a P320. So This really seems like a loaded test to me. You're telling me nearly half of your models that you're testing for your state police agency are all from one manufacturer and they're one specific model? That's odd. And furthermore, I mean, besides everything that I've discussed, there's hundreds of FBI documents and cases and court cases where SIG has settled out of court with other agencies and individuals who have all had issues with this platform. I mean, the Chicago PD have completely banned the P320. New Jersey, their attorney general came out and said that it was unsafe for any department in New Jersey to operate on. So, did the Indiana State Police not look at any of this stuff? And where this really starts to get pretty juicy is when you start thinking about conflicts of interest. Now, I know anymore, seems like it's everywhere. There's always a conflict of interest somewhere. The more I dug, and the worse it got. In 2019, a former Indiana State Police trooper joined SIG Sauer as a regional representative, a sales representative for SIG Sauer, which included Indiana, Ohio, Michigan. Every regional rep has their own area, right? Well, this former Indiana State Police officer picked up that role. And what happened in Indiana in 2019? They decided to choose the P365 as their backup gun to their standard duty weapon. Which, mind you, I think the P365 is a great platform, and I never thought anything of it. Until I looked and I was like, okay, that's starting to line up some things now. And I thought this former ISP trooper, I thought he was the one involved in this contract as well. Turns out he moved on from SIG, and a new regional sales representative took his place. And if you guessed it, another ISP trooper, you'd be right. A former Indiana State Police training coordinator and trooper for 20 plus years, retired from the Indiana State Police, and was hired on by SIG Sauer as their regional sales rep for law enforcement division for Indiana. So, George, is there a conflict of interest here? I think it's rather odd that a former ISP, now regional sales manager, is pushing the SIG Sauer to his former department. And his former department bypassed all standard testing procedures. I mean, I would assume any normal department would test GLOCK, whether you go with a GLOCK 19, a 45, a 17, the 47s. They're everywhere. And I'm not a GLOCK fanboy. I own one. It shoots really nice. But in today's climate, and all the brands and models you have to choose from, there's some really good ones. The Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0, excellent choice. There's many departments running them. There's departments running the Staccato P2s. You know, there's some great duty weapons. Now, some are a little bit more pricey than others. And I don't know where GLOCK would fall for a decked out, for one of their, and I don't know where GLOCK would sit with one of their decked out models and Smith & Wesson. And obviously Walther, who they did test, is gonna be much, much more expensive. Arguably much better quality. And I think they would be way better off with that over the 320. And the FN 509, which I have no experience with a 509. I've never handled one, I've never shot one. But from what I know about them, they seem like they're a pretty solid handgun as well. Officer trust in their duty weapon. You know, I spoke to a lot of guys that absolutely do not trust running the P320 as their duty weapon. They don't trust it at all. So how can an agency just bypass all considerations of the guys that carry them every day, who arguably shoot them way more than any of the command staff ever will? when they say, we don't want this platform. And they're basically told, don't worry about it. And I'll put a video up here of the Indiana State Police firearms coordinator, or one of their trainers.
WRTV investigates bundled up at ISP's shooting range in Pendleton. Sergeant Scott Keegan is showing us their new service weapon, the SIG Sauer P320.
And there's some still images of him firing this handgun. And man, that form is pretty god-awful. If he's the one testing these handguns and he's the expert, there's no way in hell I'm listening to that guy. So yeah, guys, that's where we're at today. I wanted to get this video out as soon as I could. There's still some more information I'm still looking to get from the Indiana State Police. And I'm really hoping that we're able to get somewhere with this because, I mean, let's just be honest, it's complete bullshit. No one wants to run this platform when every single agency in the United States is running away as fast as they can. There's obviously a problem. Well, guys, that's gonna wrap up our video today. If you know anything as far as this contract's concerned, go ahead, reach out to me or put a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think about this. I think it's rather odd, and I'd like to expose as much as possible. If there's some corruption going on, we have to expose it all. We can't stand for this stuff anymore. These are our tax dollars at work, and if we've got people in positions that are just going to waste it and cause you know, corrupted spending, we just can't have it. So thanks guys for watching, and go ahead, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe because I do plan on posting a follow-up video to this, and I will let you know what all I find.